Peace, what's happening, everybody? This is Stacy Patrice coming at you with another Hump Day Tools for the Soul video. And I wanted to talk today about labels. Labels are these things that we utilize in order to define ourselves to others, in order to define ourselves to ourselves, and in order to make some type of sense out of what it is that we're doing. The question I have that inspired me to make this video today is, are labels really necessary and are they really accurate? Oftentimes in the world, we go out, we create business cards, we create websites, which, by the way, my website has been under construction since October of last year for this very reason. And in trying to present what it is that is in my heart and that I feel very strongly, I have found myself bumping into this paradigm that I didn't even know was there of labeling myself properly so that I can be understood, I can be found, I can be searched, I can be hashtagged, I can be shared as this label. And the most authentic part of myself was like, bump that. I'm not a label. I'm not any one of those things that I can call myself. As a matter of fact, I have too many things I can call myself. And none of them are going to help people to understand me more. They'll just be confusing, actually. And so I decided to boycott the idea of labeling myself. Even though people will still have labels of me, people will still create labels of me, I will allow people to create labels of me and then disallow me to be defined by those labels. So how is it that this is possible? How can you, in one instance, not want to be labeled enough to not label yourself, and then another instance be accepting enough to allow other people to label you as they see fit and bring their perspective to the table? The only answer I have is taking your drishti inward. So in yoga, your drishti is your gazing point. It's where you look, it's where you bring your focus so that you may create. Okay, it's where you bring your focus so that you may make a movement possible. You may actually bring your mind in sync with your body, your breath into your experience. So how can I essentially breathe deeper into the experience that I'm having if I don't have a label, if I don't have a focus point? So the reason I say bring that drishti internal is because I feel like whenever you are questioning something, whenever you are at a crossroads of excellence, magnificence, whatever it is you want to call it, you do have to check back in with yourself. You do have to reestablish a connection and just see if what it is that you're feeling is actually syncing up with what it is that you're saying. Some of the English language is just inadequate as it relates to bringing that sort of feeling to what it is that you're doing, right? You know, a lot of times we use other words from other languages because they have more flavor, they have more gusto. And so in trying to explain yourself, you have to realize that happens in everyday language, English words all the time. So how can I get you to understand what I'm saying if I feel like the words that I'm using do not express it properly? If I am refusing to be defined in what I feel sometimes is limited to the things that I do. What I do is not who I am. And what it is that we can do together can be born out of diving deeper into finding who it is that you're talking to versus what they put in the forefront and they say that they are. Now, I don't disagree with knowing what labels to use should a labeling type of conversation arise. In other words, if someone says, well, what is it that you do for a living? You know, what is that you're passionate about? Oh, well, what I do for a living is I'm an artist, I'm a mom, I'm a this, I'm a that. You know, you can go there with those words because they are asking something specific about an action or a lifestyle pattern of yours. But to say that's who you are is a little deep. So I think, I feel, look at that, I think, like I feel and think, I think they are completely in tune. I think that, in the idealism of expressing yourself, there are some tools that you can definitely use to reconnect with your soul that allow you to evade the idea of labeling, but allow you to also live in the midst of all of the things that you are powerfully and purposefully. Tool number one, ask yourself every day, who am I? It's a completely fluid concept, a completely fluid process. This is a way to get you out of your rigidity and to bring you back to yourself, bring you back to what you're experiencing at the time. Now, as it relates to presenting yourself to others, there may come times where you're like, oh, I'm this person, I do this, I do this, I do this. But see if you can define who you are without defining what you do, right? Just the essence of what you feel at that time. Maybe ask yourself in the morning, ask yourself again in the evening. Maybe write it down when you're having a confusing moment. Maybe write it down when you're trying to empower before you go into an interview, before you talk to a new client, before you step onto the stage. Ask yourself who you are. This has been very empowering practice for me because who I am is so fluid and so different. And as I know it, it's always connected to the idea that I'm forever changing. And it's a way for me to first acknowledge my growth before I acknowledge these labels that I may have been stuck with previously. Tool number two, express in ritual your gratitude. So, what this simply means for me is find some way every day to express your gratitude. Find some way every day to go deeper into what it is that really matters to you, and how much it matters to you should be shown through your lifestyle. So, for instance, two ways that I love to express gratitude other than directly talking to people and saying, "Thank you so much, you're so awesome," or posting something on someone's page or giving someone a gift or a note, is to really express gratitude by giving my time, giving my service, and then also writing down the ways in which I am grateful for things. So I don't take lightly that my clients depend on me to do certain things. They might not be things that I think they need. I might want to take them a different direction. But when my clients say, "I need this, you have it, give it to me," I don't have a choice but to kind of jump in when I hear this demand and say, "Okay, I got you." I'm grateful that they choose me. I'm grateful that they have this ideal that I am able to give them what they need, that I am being a vessel for what it is that they want to experience. On the other hand, I also have to remind myself, my own self-actualization, what is the gratitude that I want to feel and I want to experience? Write all my ideas down there, drop it in my gratitude jar every day. And think about what it is that I actually did, what I actually accomplished, what I'm grateful for, what I had, the resources that showed up, the many different facets of my personalities that stepped up to the plate. And I like to be able to record this in a way that it can be captured for me to revisit if I need to, if I ever forget. Tool number three, watch what you put in. Pretty simple. It goes across diet, psychology, emotions, invitations, what you watch. Are you tuning into people's attitudes, feelings, beliefs that are in your space? Watching what you put in, watching what you digest is really very well connected to you knowing from your center what's good for you. And knowing what's good for you is very well centered to knowing what works for you. And knowing what works for you is very well centered with knowing what rituals and what gratitude you have for what has already worked, what has already been done. It's also very connected to that, who am I? Who you're being at the time may change what you accept at the time. But at your core, in that internal gaze, you have to know that certain things just have to be cut out. Certain things just have to be expressed differently in order for you to accept them. And if it doesn't already exist, my motto is create it. Create it in a way that is acceptable, in a way that you can sleep at night knowing that you gave yourself the optimal amount of nutrition for the day. So how do you get the optimal amount of nutrition in a day? Feed yourself. Program yourself. Find people who are like-minded that are willing to do that work, that are willing to travel the spiritual journey with you, so that you're in the process of constantly uncovering and rediscovering yourself, exploring on a massive level. And your growth is definitely going to dictate what it is that you put in and you put out. I make sure that I take time out for myself, away from my work, and say, you know what? I need to sit down and think about what I'm feeling right now, because something is a disturbance in the forest. And if I feel that it is real, and I need to take the time to reconnect and rejoin with the joy that I have inside of myself and how I can bring that passion more alive in my everyday. Tool number four, have a personal and foundational practice that keeps you reminded and affirmed in what it is that you intend to do in this life. In other words, if you are a very vivid, colorful, extroverted personality, please don't put on black and put a gray coat on top of it and walk out into a very monochromatic world and be quiet. That's not a practice that's going to serve you and affirm you being who you are. However, if you find yourself disappearing and fading away to the background, maybe there's something for you to discover. But it definitely doesn't mean that that's your practice. That might just be a moment. A practice is something more like, I make sure every day that I move, I make sure every day that I create, I make sure every day that I connect, I make sure every day that I ground, and I make sure every day that I give. That's a foundational practice. It has a lot of tenets, but it's a foundational practice, something you can look for every day in your everyday. So I suggest that if you don't have one in mind that you want, think about the things that you love to do. Think about the things that you do effortlessly. Think about the things that other people tell you that you're really they're really appreciative of you doing and that are very unique from what others do. And then make that practice solid in your life, if you agree, in a way that you can constantly make it better and make it bigger so that you feel the depth of who it is that you are. Tool number 5, stay connected to your visioning and your dreaming. I left this as tool number 5 because I think people will find it the least tangible out of the 5, but there's a way to do that. Dreaming and visioning as a tangible practice means stepping into the dream or the vision. It means don't leave the vision on the shelf and wait for it to happen. Don't tell people about it and don't act on it. This sounds very basic, but a lot of times our dreams are shelved and we're not holding the vision. I say if you're going to put the dream on the shelf, hold the vision for it. Still do the steps that you know it'll take to get to that vision without believing that the vision is over and something magical has to happen first before it can actually happen in your life. When you actually rehearse to be in your moment arrives and you just step into it. There's no forethought. This is like really moving in your stream of consciousness, actually. It's exactly what it does and exactly what it is. So I say tool 5 is an important tool. I named it last. Don't leave it out, but don't discredit it either. Like, oh, vision boards, law of attraction. Tool 5 is the one that allows you to see yourself somewhere else. And without that vision and without changing your mind, how can you excel forward? That was a mouthful. I hope you understood. Please leave a comment below. Let us know, what it is that you do, what it is that resonated with you. And as always, I'm over at stacypatrice.com. It's not long before we start uploading things. We really want you to be able to jump in and to inspire from the inside out. This is an external, internal molding, melding, meshing of a game. We want to make sure you get it all. So be well, be whole, be in it. I hope to see you next Wednesday. Thanks again for joining us for another episode of Tools from the Soul. And peace, love, Satnam, Namaste, Ashe. Do it, right? Peace.